What's up everybody, this is Silent Wolf, and this is my DKC speedrun tutorial for Reptile Rumble, third stage in World 1. Alright, so what we're going to do is just go ahead and watch the stage done optimally, and then after that I will break down each section. That is not how you do the stage optimally. One thing to note about this stage is that it's significantly more difficult to optimize than any stage we've seen so far, for various reasons. Alright, so that is what the stage looks like done optimally. Let's go ahead and take a deeper dive into this. So right off the bat, the stage already has some new tech compared to the previous couple stages, so we're gonna need to roll through this barrel here, but if you roll through a barrel while continuing to hold Y, you'll grab the barrel, so you want to release Y as you pass through the barrel, and then once you get to anywhere after the barrel, anywhere as early as like right here, you don't have to be like fully past the barrel, it's a little bit inside the barrel, you can repress Y. So we're gonna go ahead and hit the ground running. So my visual cue for maximizing this upcoming roll is you see this kind of dark patch right here. I usually start my roll somewhere right in the center. Like right there. Not holding Y at this point, I'm just rolling straight through the barrel. Right before I hit the snake, I'm gonna repress and hold Y just to make sure I get that full enemy speed. And then you just want to just ride out this roll as close to this little bump as possible without bonking it. Do a, maybe not a minimum jump, but something really close to it so you land just right past this DK barrel. Again, you don't need to be fully past a barrel to be able to hold Y or roll. You just need to be mostly past it. You can see I'm like, I still got my booty all up in that DK barrel just a little bit, but I'm holding Y and I'm not going to grab it. So you don't need to be fully past it. At this point, I am doing another roll, just a teeny baby roll, and then I'm going to do another minimum jump here so I can land somewhere on this ledge. Now, where you start your roll relative to this edge is going to affect the trajectory of your roll. There are several different trajectories you can get, and they are determined based on your distance from the ledge. This is pretty important for being consistent with this roll through these two crems, because depending on where you start your roll, you may or may not actually hit this first creme. So I just try and space my jumps and my rolls so that I land in the same spot every time, kind of in the center between the ledge and the barrel, and do my roll there, and usually that does me justice and gets me through these two crems. Looking at the input display, no extendos here. We only want to do extendos in situations where it would actually cause our rolls to go farther. Doing extendos where it doesn't actually make your roll go farther doesn't help you out, because any time spent not holding Y in between enemies is going to be slower. So my visual cue here is pretty much as soon as I touch the ground, maybe a teeny bit after, I do a minimum jump. Once again, just to milk my roll for all it's worth, but also not bonk this ledge that I'm coming up against. Want to keep that speed. Now this next part is pretty tricky to optimize. We see this creme coming up. Now you'll notice I'm waiting just a bit, and the wait time here is pretty arbitrary. You just kind of have to get a feel for it. Like, maybe you could make some kind of visual cue with the creme, but it's such a short wait time that I find it's good to just kind of have it embedded in my muscle memory. So what we're gonna do is just let this creme get into place a bit. The thing is, if I roll any earlier than that, I'm not gonna roll through the creme because the creme is gonna be too high above me. So you'll see that I've waited just long enough to clip the creme as he's coming down. Now, to really maximize this is where it becomes tricky. You'll notice that I rolled off the ledge and I'm no longer holding Y. I'm barely clipping the creme with my hand, slapping him in the dick. And right after I clip him, like the moment after you clip him, you want to repress and hold Y and get this extendo. Now what this does, doing an extendo here in particular, allows your roll to reach the ground and continue. If you were to do that section without doing an extendo, you would have to wait longer if you want your roll to hit the ground and continue just like that. So if, let's say you roll off the ledge with that same timing through the creme and don't do an extendo, you're going to roll through the creme, but then once you land on the ground, you're just going to be running like this. So it's really important to do an extendo and then repress the moment you hit through that creme. And that'll just enable you to not have to wait as long on that ledge to get that extension in your roll. Just doing a full roll, minimum jump off the tire. The minimum jump's not important as long as you get that full roll before rolling off the tire. And just for a little bit of context, it's really good to get familiar with the roll animation and when it fully ends. So you'll see I'm going to milk this roll for all it's worth. Not quite. I could have milked it a lot longer. When Diddy's hand touches the ground at the end of his roll is where it really ends. Alright, this next roll, pretty easy. It is a little important where you start it. I usually use this slope here as my visual cue, so somewhere like right before that slope is where I'll start my roll. Just right before the slope. If you want to play it a little safe, you can do it on the slope, after the slope. And then we're just holding Y and rolling through these cremes. Honestly, nothing special. Do a full jump off this tire. I find that doing a full jump helps more than doing a minimum jump because I think you rise up faster. I'm not sure if that's totally true, but I feel like I bonk this ledge less when I do a full jump off the tire down here. And you're not going to be starting a roll from back here anyways, so doing a full jump doesn't take away any of your roll time relative to doing a min jump and landing like back here. So I pretty much just do that full jump and land right where I want to roll, which is somewhere around here. Yeah, I'm going to want to roll right here. If I roll anywhere earlier than this, I'm going to get a bad roll trajectory off this ledge and hit this B. If I roll any later than this, I'll be fine, but I'm just not optimizing my roll. So, pretty safely rolling over this first B. I want to milk this roll as long as I can and really get up close and personal with this zinger right here. Now, it's good to get as low as you can here. 1, because you're milking this roll as long as possible. 2, because you're descending here. So when you jump out of this roll, the lower you are, the less time it will take you to land from that jump and be able to start another roll. So get really close to the zinger there. You can collide with these little spicules on their back, but once you hit their actual back, that's where you're fucked. Do a minimum jump there just so I can start my next roll as soon as possible. Buffer a roll. And then I'm going to jump into this crawl space. And since this crawl space is so short, I'm not going to need to hold down at any point. With longer crawl spaces, you do need to hold down to continue to jump through them. Since this one is so short, I'm just going to jump into it and tap Y right as I land. You'll see I'm starting my roll and it'll just kind of zip me out of that crawl space. Now, let's say you bonk this ceiling right here and you only get this far in the crawl space because it canceled your speed. If you do a roll as soon as you land, it's going to zip you out backwards. So depending on which exit you're closest to, it's going to zip you that way. So you really want to make sure you time this roll well to get this deep jump into the crawl space. Once again, don't need to hold down, just need to tap Y as soon as you land, get this roll started. And you want to start this jump before you hit the center of the tire. If you get a jump up here from the tire, you're not going to be able to get speed from these snakes. You can even roll onto the tire just a little bit, but you don't want to get too far onto it, like right there, or else you're gonna get a too big of a jump. Okay, so coming up is an extended roll. We want to land as far left on this ledge as possible, just doing a minimum jump, starting a roll as soon as we land. Now here's the trick to this extended roll. We're going to roll through this first snake while holding Y, not doing an extended roll, just so we can get some base speed built up. And then as soon as we roll through that first snake, we're going to release Y. Now with having Y released still, we're rolling through the second snake, and the moment we collide with the second snake, we're going to repress Y and activate that speed. And what this allows us to do is have enough speed and extension in our roll to actually make it over this B. If you're hitting the B, it means you're not doing something correctly. Either you're not holding Y through the first snake, or you're not releasing before hitting the second snake and repressing. So let's just go ahead and take a look at what that looks like in fast motion. Yeah, you can tell you get a really nice roll over there. And then we just do a minimum jump out of that extended roll. Do a roll here, milk it as long as we can. Minimum jump, spending minimal time in the air, just so we can start our next roll. Now, depending on exactly how far from this ledge you start your roll, you're going to get a different roll trajectory. And this is going to affect how you roll off of this snake down here. And this can cause you to lose time sometime. Sometimes rolling into the snake keeps you in the air pretty long. Sometimes you just land on the ground immediately. So rather than banking on getting the lower of the two and trying to time that with this and risking a bonk, I usually just assume I'm going to hit the snake in such a way that I stay suspended in the air longer and then jump out of it, anticipating that, just so I make sure that I don't bonk here. So what that looks like is that. Still just doing a minimum jump out of that roll so I can start my next roll as soon as possible. Now this ending section is really tough. So I'm going to roll up on this tire, and I'm going to do a minimum jump off the tire. If you do your jump too soon, like let's say before passing this point, you're not going to get the tire bounce. You're going to make the tire jiggle, but you're going to get a minimum jump. So you're going to want to really like get right over here and do a minimum jump off the tire. Now this next section is where it gets really tough to be consistent at. Mainly because of these crawl spaces here. They're actually really tight to jump into without losing your speed. I usually try and use these dark markings on the ground as a reference, so you'll want to jump kind of where this light area meets this dark area, right around here. Let's see what that looks like. Start my roll, jump in there. Now this section is tricky as well. I can roll as soon as I get into this section, right there, but this is going to change how you do this section. So there's this creme and one more creme over here. If I were to roll right here, I would roll through this first one and avoid the second creme. But it's a pretty tight timing to actually have that happen. So I usually run towards the bottom of this slope and then start my roll. And the reason I do this is this ensures that I'm going to hit both cremes, which isn't necessarily faster than skipping the second creme. I'm not actually sure which one's faster. I would assume starting your roll earlier in here and avoiding the second creme is faster, since you don't really milk it for any additional roll time anyways. But I just like to be consistent and know that I'm going to roll through both so I can time this jump towards the end. And the jump is going to be right around here. Usually the jumps into these crawl spaces are just right before the corner there. So I'm going to jump right before that. Now, as soon as I land outside of this crawl space, pretty much, I'm going to start another roll. If you start it too early, your roll is going to die right here, and you're going to eat a snake. So if you want to play it safe, you can wait just a little bit to start your roll there. There is some variance to how many snakes you hit, depending on, how you approach the section and where you start your roll. Most commonly, you're going to roll through 4 snakes here. I'm not actually sure if 4 snakes is the fastest. I would assume so, but it also creates a lot of lag, so who knows. And then timing the jump after those snakes is pretty tricky because you just build up so much speed really fast. So sometimes it's better to play it safe and jump a bit earlier so you don't bonk this ledge and lose all that speed. Minimum jump. And then I'm just gonna buffer another roll. Try and milk this one for all it's got. And then I usually do a minimum jump. You see this weird cave structure right here? Usually in the center of this. So I just see these 2 things and these 2 things, and then this area in the middle. In the middle of all this is where I time a minimum jump. Boom. And that's so I can land right here and start a roll right there. If you're rolling over a tire, let me correct that. If you're starting a roll right in front of a tire, then when you jump off of a tire, you're not going to get that tire bounce. So I'm rolling off the tire, doing a full jump. Actually, I think that previous jump was a minimum jump. I can't remember, honestly. It's one of the 2. Just to keep it simple. And then you do a minimum jump off of this tire, just so you can land on the very leftmost side of this platform and get the most roll time in. And then you finish the stage. Now let's take a look at that one more time now that we've seen everything broken down. Honestly, a really cool stage when you see it done right.